This is sports handicapper Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review, and I am back for MLB Overnight Lines, taking a look at the games for Sunday, May 22nd. Let's get right to it. Let's start with the LA Dodgers taking on the San Diego Padres in an NL West battle on Sunday afternoon. And the Japanese wonder, Kenta Maeda, for the LA Dodgers, who for the longest time has not looked like anybody was going to be able to properly navigate their way through this guy in terms of being able to hit him. All of a sudden, he's looking human in recent starts and to come back down to earth just a little bit. Teams are starting to make an adjustment against Kenta Maeda, having better swings and better approaches, more patient approaches at the plate against Kenta Maeda. And now all of a sudden, he's hit a little bit of a rough patch. He's allowed 8 runs in his last 9 innings of work over a pair of starts against the Mets and the Angels. And he has had problems with control and command, 8 walks over his last 15 innings, which spans 3 starts. And now Kenta Maeda is going to face a San Diego Padres lineup. Yeah, that's not a dominating lineup by any stretch of the imagination, but for San Diego, this will be the first time this season that any team will face Kenta Maeda for the second time. And that is meaningful, I think, here. I think the more teams see Kenta Maeda, the less deceptive he is going to be with his pitches against them. So I think San Diego is going to have a pretty decent game plan at the plate, a second look for their lineup against him this season. And I think they're going to be able to at least hit him for a little bit in this game. And it's worth noting the Padres lineup has perked up. As of late, they've scored a few more runs than normal. Big 7-run outburst last night in the series opener for San Diego against the LA Dodgers. So I think San Diego, now getting a second look at Kenta Maeda, I think they're going to be able to put together some better at-bats. Maybe work the pitch count a little bit and get into the Dodgers bullpen too, which has not been good for the last couple of weeks. So I think San Diego has the chance to put up a few runs again in this game. I just don't know if Kenta Maeda is a guy that can sustain long-term dominance. I mean, it was fine early in the season when he was doing well. Teams weren't familiar with him, not a lot of videotape on him in terms of dissecting his weaknesses, but now teams are starting to get starting to see him more and more, and the word is starting to get out on him. So now it's up to Kenta Maeda to make the adjustment and see if he can now sort of right the ship. It'll be interesting to see how he pitches here. On the other side, you've got Colin Ray on the mound for San Diego. He's been very inconsistent. I think it's a guy with a little bit of upside, but he's just had trouble harnessing it. A 4.37 ERA so far this season, 6 walks in his last 2 starts. He's also had a couple issues with command himself. He has pitched well, though, against the LA Dodgers previously this season, allowed 2 runs in 6 innings against them back in April. Padres are 2-0 in Ray's previous starts against the Dodgers. So the way I'm going to look to bet this game here is I'm going to look side and total. You can get San Diego here, pretty sizable underdog, plus 150 at Heritage Sports in that, plus 145 to plus 150 range across the board. I think they're worth a shot here. The Dodgers aren't playing great baseball. They're not. Their offense has been spotty. Their starting pitching outside of Kershaw has been a little bit hit or miss of late. Kenta Maeda, as I mentioned, has come back down to earth a bit. And that bullpen, it's been a problem area for the Dodgers. So that's a pretty lofty road favorite with all those issues, in my opinion. So I'll look to San Diego as an underdog there and also over the total. In this game, it's at 7.5. First game went over the total between these two teams, and I think you'll get enough runs that we could look toward this game going over the total. I think it's reasonable to expect 8 or more runs in this game. Let's take a look now at Baltimore taking on the LA Angels on the Sunday, May 22nd slate. And you talk about 2 pitchers I don't trust. We've got 2 pitchers that I flat out do not trust for sure. In this game, we've got Ubaldo Jimenez. I've been betting against him in recent starts, side and total, both against Jimenez, and it's been a successful way to go about things. And I'm not about to hop off the go against Ubaldo Jimenez train here, as he is in very poor form right now as he takes the mound for the Orioles in this game. He has a 5.73 ERA on the road, has allowed 11 runs on 14 hits in just 9.1 innings over his last 2 starts against Detroit and Seattle, 8 walks, 6 strikeouts in those games. So yet another pitcher that's having some difficulties with his control at this point in time. So, Jimenez, to me, I've never been sold on him over the last couple of years. He's had some little surges of time when he's pitched a little bit better, but for the most part, he's more hittable. His controlling isn't as good. And the result is I think he's still a very hittable pitcher at this stage of his career. Would not surprise me to see the LA Angels be able to score some runs. They've scored 56 runs in their last 9 games. Everybody's producing. Albert Pujols is in good form. Mike Trout's hitting the ball. C.J. Cron even has stepped up hitting the ball. Cole Calhoun's hitting well. There's a lot of guys in this Angels lineup in good form. They're not my favorite lineup in Major League Baseball by any stretch, but right now they're seeing the ball well. They're hitting well. They're hitting better. And when teams are in good form for a long period of time at the plate, like the Angels have been in their last 9 games, you don't really want to buck that trend until they show you that they've been shut down. So I think the Angels can get to Jimenez here. However, on the flip side, you talk about another pitcher I don't trust, and that's Jared Weaver. I mean, I don't trust him all that much more than Ubaldo Jimenez. A fastball that barely hits the high 80s in miles per hour. That velocity continues to decline at just an alarming rate for Weaver. And really, he's nothing more now than an aging, hittable pitcher. He's got to hit the corners. He's got to hit his spots perfectly in order to get opposing hitters out. And unfortunately for Weaver, what makes this a particularly bad matchup for him against Baltimore is his struggles with allowing home runs. He's allowed 6 home runs in his last 3 starts. That's over 17 innings. And Baltimore is one of the top teams in Major League Baseball hitting home runs. So it screams out to me that this could be a very big problem for Jared Weaver trying to navigate through this Baltimore lineup, which does have some home run hitters up and down this lineup. So could be some struggles here for Weaver. Could be some struggles here for Jimenez. Well, that puts me on the over. We've got the total at 9 in this game. Pretty much across the board. I think over the total is worth a bet here. It is worth noting Baltimore 8-2 to the over in their last 10 games, and the Angels are 7-2 to the over in their last 9 games. So both teams have been streaking over the total streakers in recent games, and I'd expect this to be a higher scoring affair. And it doesn't hurt the cause either that neither of these bullpens, particularly in middle relief, are overly dominant. So could have the chance for late runs as well in that game. So I'd look over between Baltimore and the Angels. A couple other games, quick hitter style for the Sunday slate. Let's go against Dallas Keuchel in some form. I know he's a little bit better he has been a lot better at home than he has been on the road, but I still don't like his overall current form. It's not good, and I'm still not sold on him being worth that minus 130 home favorite price. I'd look to Texas as an underdog there. I'd look to bet against Yordano Ventura somehow, some way, when he takes the mound for Kansas City against the Chicago White Sox. Ventura, I think he's dealing with a potential injury that could end up becoming public knowledge in the not too distant future, because he hasn't pitched well at all. 6.89 ERA in his last 3 starts. He's allowed 4 runs or more in 3 of his last 4 starts. I think there's something wrong with Yordano Ventura. I would look to fade him in some fashion, or maybe even multiple methods to go against Ventura. Maybe you look at the White Sox in this game around minus 105 on the money line. Maybe you look at the White Sox team total to go over, and maybe you look at the game to go over the total as well, because Carlos Rodon is an enigma. He can pitch great, he can look dominant, and then he can be hit around a bit. So what we get from Carlos Rodon, I'm not sure. So still would lean to the White Sox on the money line, would look toward also the White Sox team total over, and the game as well, over the total of 8.5 runs there. And Toronto and Minnesota, Phil Hughes stinks, okay? He's awful. He's pathetic. I mean, how many times have we seen this guy just struggle? He struggled start in, start out. I've been making some money with overs in his start. Problem is, I don't love the over in that game because Marcus Stroman is on the mound for the Blue Jays, and I expect him to pitch pretty well. Maybe you look at Toronto run line in that game. You'll probably get a decent price with that, minus 1.5. On the run line with the Blue Jays. Again, Minnesota's a team that this Blue Jays team has to beat if they're going to get back into the race in the AL East and get on a run. You got to be able to win games against teams like Minnesota. So I would lean to the Jays on the run line there. And Seattle, Cincinnati, wouldn't talk anyone out of over the total in that game. What else is new? Alfredo Simon, we've talked about him in the past. He's no good. I think he's going to struggle against Seattle. The one little bit of concern I would have with the over in that game is Wade Miley on the mound for Seattle. He pitched fantastic in his last start at Camden Yards against Baltimore, shutting out the Orioles. And he does have some, and he is a capable pitcher. He's had some consistency issues at times, but he is a capable pitcher. If he's on his game, maybe this is going to be a tough game for Cincinnati to score some runs in. That would be temper my enthusiasm a bit looking over the total in that game, but I would still lean in that direction as I think Seattle's going to be able to hit Simon. And also, that Cincinnati bullpen, with Simon probably not a likely candidate to pitch deep. We know that Cincinnati bullpen is always capable of allowing late runs. They're awful. So Seattle might be able to score some runs late in this game. Maybe you look Seattle run line as well, -1.5 runs in that game. Maybe a chance for the Mariners to win by margin, especially if Wade Miley pitches anything like he did in his last start against Baltimore. Anyway, that will do it. That's going to wrap things up for my look at the MLB overnight lines for the games on Sunday, May 22nd. I'm sports handicapper Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. Check out the website at sportsbookreview.com for all the latest sports betting articles and videos and live odds. Until next time, enjoy the games and good luck.